The silent sentinel. The HS Prometheus hung motionless against the backdrop of Saturn's rings, its obsidian hull absorbing what little sunlight reached this far into the solar system. To any observer, the ship might have appeared dormant, but inside its reinforced walls, Captain Sarah Chen knew better. Every system hummed with barely contained power, ready to unleash humanity's full technological might at a moment's notice. Contact bearing 347 Mark 210. Lieutenant Rivera announced from his sensor station, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Multiple signatures. They're big, Captain. Unlike anything we've seen before. Chen rose from her command chair, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display dominating the bridge's center. The incoming vessels appeared as crimson markers, their formation precise and purposeful. Initial readings suggested each ship dwarfed the Prometheus by at least a factor of 3. Analysis, she asked, though she already suspected the answer. After all, this was why the Prometheus had been built. Humanity's first and best line of defense against the unknown. Definitely not human tech, Mom. Commander Jackson, her XO, reported. Energy signatures are off the charts. I'm counting 15 capital ships, possibly more support vessels behind them. They're running cold, but our quantum sensors are picking up massive power cores. The bridge crew maintained their composure, years of training evident in their focused demeanor. The Prometheus represented humanity's greatest achievement, a vessel that incorporated every breakthrough in physics, engineering, and computing that Earth had achieved over the past century. Its neural-linked systems, quantum-entangled communications, and revolutionary propulsion technology made it unique among human vessels. They're decelerating, Rivera updated. Maintaining formation. Captain, they're heading straight for Earth. Chen nodded, her mind already racing through scenarios. The Prometheus had been positioned at Saturn precisely for this moment. Far enough to observe incoming vessels, close enough to respond to threats. Tactical analysis. Lieutenant Commander Patel spoke up from her weapons station, dark fingers dancing across holographic controls. Their armor appears to be some kind of crystalline lattice. Energy readings suggest shields, but the configuration is unlike anything in our database. If they're hostile, she paused, conventional weapons might not be effective. Good thing we don't rely on conventional weapons, Chen replied, allowing herself a small smile. The Prometheus carried something far more valuable than mere firepower. It carried human ingenuity. They're broadcasting, Communications Officer Zhang announced. Wideband, multiple frequencies. Translation matrix is processing. It's a message, Captain. The holographic display shifted, revealing symbols that slowly morphed into English text. Submit to assessment by the Nexer Coalition. Resistance will be met with appropriate force. Chen's jaw tightened. Humanity had prepared for first contact scenarios, ranging from peaceful to hostile. But there was something about the clinical detachment of this message that set her nerves on edge. Send our first contact package, she ordered. Standard greeting protocols. But even as Zhang complied, Chen gave a subtle hand signal to Patel. The weapons officer understood immediately, beginning a silent power-up sequence of their more unconventional systems. The response came quickly. Your technological level has been evaluated as insufficient. The Nexer Coalition will assume administrative control of your system for proper development. Prepare for boarding and assessment. How kind of them to offer, Jackson muttered, but Chen was already moving. This was no longer about first contact. This was about survival. Battle stations, she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's future. Initiate Ghost Protocol. Let's show our visitors why they shouldn't judge a species by their technological age alone. The Prometheus's systems surged to life, quantum processors calculating possibilities faster than human thought. The ship's unique design, the product of human creativity and determination, was about to be tested against an alien force that clearly expected an easy conquest. As the massive alien fleet approached, Chen couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. The Nexer coalition might have superior technology, but they were about to learn what humans did best, turning disadvantages into victories, finding solutions where none seemed possible, and refusing to submit when faced with overwhelming odds. All hands, she broadcast throughout the ship. This is what we've trained for. Humanity doesn't bow to tyrants, whether they're from Earth or the stars. Let's make history. The Prometheus's quantum engines hummed to life, its adaptive hull beginning to shift and morph. The alien fleet was about to discover that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology. It was their ability to adapt, to innovate, and to overcome impossible odds. And Sarah Chen intended to teach them that lesson personally. Dance of Giants. The void between Saturn and Jupiter erupted with energy as the Nexer fleet launched their first salvo. Streams of crystalline projectiles, each glowing with exotic energy, carved paths through space toward the seemingly vulnerable human vessel. Captain Chen watched the incoming fire with calculated calm, waiting for precisely the right moment. Ghost protocol active. Commander Jackson reported, his hand steady on the neural interface. Quantum field stable. The projectiles passed straight through the Prometheus, their deadly energy dispersing harmlessly into the void. The ship hadn't dodged. It had shifted partially out of phase with normal spacetime, a technology born from humanity's experiments with quantum mechanics. "They're scanning us," Rivera announced, excitement creeping into his voice. "Multiple frequencies. They're trying to figure out what just happened." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Let's give them something else to think about." Lieutenant Commander Patel initialized the mirror array. The Prometheus's hull rippled, thousands of microscopic quantum dots activating simultaneously. Each one could absorb, redirect, or amplify energy. Another human innovation, born from studying the interaction of light with metamaterials. The Nexer fleet's second attack came faster, more intense. This time, instead of letting the energy pass through, the Prometheus absorbed it. The ship's hull gleamed momentarily before redirecting the accumulated energy in a focused burst back at the nearest Nexer vessel. The alien ship's crystalline shields flared brilliant purple, struggling to contain their own weaponry turned against them. "Direct hit," Paddle reported. "Their shield geometry is adapting, but we got readings on their internal structure now." The bridge of the Prometheus thrummed with activity as the crew worked in perfect synchronization. Years of training merged with cutting-edge technology, human and machine operating, as one through neural interfaces that enhanced rather than replaced human intuition. A new transmission cut through space. Impossible. Your technological level was assessed as primitive. Explain your capabilities immediately. No response, Chen ordered. Actions speak louder than words. Initiate attack pattern Delta 7. The Prometheus surged forward, its quantum engines allowing it to move in ways that seemed to defy physics. The ship split into multiple quantum echoes, each one appearing solid to sensors, but only one being real at any given moment. The Nexer fleet's formation broke as they tried to track the impossible movement. "They're launching fighters," Rivera warned. "Hundreds of them." Chen nodded. "Just as we expected." Commander Jackson released the swarm. From concealed bays along the Prometheus's hull, thousands of microdrones deployed. Each one contained a miniaturized version of the ship's phase technology, making them nearly impossible to hit. The drones swarmed through space, penetrating the Nexer fighters' shields by briefly shifting out of phase before materializing inside their hulls. "Swarm performing as designed," Jackson reported. 30% of enemy fighters disabled and counting. The Nexer response was immediate and devastating. Their capital ships began charging what appeared to be their primary weapons, massive arrays that bent space itself around them. The energy readings were off the charts. "They're trying to create a localized gravity well," Zhang analyzed. "They mean to trap us in place." Chen's expression remained determined. "They still think this is about technology." Lieutenant Commander Patel, show them why humanity survived its own nuclear age. Execute Prometheus protocol. The ship's quantum dots reconfigured, forming new patterns based on mathematical principles derived from chaos theory. As the Nexar gravity weapon fired, the Prometheus didn't resist. It adapted. The ship's hull became a three-dimensional equation, using the enemy's own gravitational attack to sling itself forward at impossible speeds. Impact in 3 seconds, Patil announced. Quantum field at maximum. The Prometheus phased through the lead Nexar vessel like a ghost. But this time, it left something behind. As the human ship emerged on the other side, a cascade of quantum instabilities rippled through the alien craft, disrupting its crystalline structure at the subatomic level. Target vessel is experiencing critical system failures, Rivera reported. Their power core is destabilizing. The massive Nexar ship began to break apart, its once perfect crystalline surface cracking like ice in spring. The rest of the alien fleet pulled back, their precise formation dissolving into chaos. New transmission, Zhang announced. There, requesting a temporary ceasefire. Chen stood from her command chair, surveying the battlefield displayed before her. The Nexar fleet, despite their technological superiority, had been forced to retreat by a single human vessel, not because the Prometheus had better weapons or stronger shields, but because humanity had learned long ago that victory often went to those who thought differently. Accept the ceasefire, she ordered, but maintain battle readiness. Something tells me they're not done underestimating us yet. As the quantum echoes faded and the swarm returned to their base, Chen reflected on the battle's deeper meaning. The Nexar coalition had brought overwhelming force and advanced technology, but they had forgotten something crucial. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't the biggest or the most advanced, but the one you don't understand. And humanity, with its capacity for lateral thinking and unconventional solutions, was perhaps the least understood force in the galaxy. Breaking the chain. The temporary ceasefire lasted exactly 6 minutes and 23 seconds. Captain Chen spent every one of those seconds preparing for what she knew would come next. The Nexar coalition hadn't achieved dominion over countless worlds by accepting defeat gracefully. Multiple power spikes across the enemy fleet, Rivera reported, his sensor displays lighting up like a Christmas tree. They're reconfiguring their crystalline matrices. Whatever they're planning, it's big. Chen studied the tactical display, noting how the alien ships had arranged themselves in a complex geometric pattern. It wasn't just a formation. It was an antenna array. They're linking their ships together, she realized, creating a unified field. Confirmed, Zhang added, her fingers flying over the communications console. I'm detecting quantum resonance between their vessels. The energy readings are exponential. The space between the ships began to distort, reality itself warping as the combined power of 15 advanced alien warships bent the fabric of space-time. This wasn't just an attack. It was an attempt to rewrite the laws of physics within a localized area. They're trying to create a bubble of altered space, Commander Jackson observed, where their laws of physics are the only ones that apply. Chen's expression hardened. The Nexar weren't just fighting. They were trying to negate humanity's advantages by changing the rules of the game itself. It was clever, she had to admit, but they had overlooked something fundamental about human nature. Lieutenant Commander Patel, she called, remember those quantum fluctuations we detected in their shield harmonics during the first exchange? Patel's eyes lit up with understanding. The crystalline structure of their ships. It's not just technology, it's their weakness. They're too perfect, too ordered. Exactly, Chen smiled. And what happens to perfect crystalline structures when you introduce chaos? Deploy the butterfly protocol. The Prometheus's quantum dots reconfigured once again, but this time they formed patterns that seemed random, almost fractal in nature. The ship's computer systems, guided by human intuition, began generating minute quantum fluctuations that propagated through space. Butterfly protocol active, Jackson confirmed, introducing controlled chaos into their unified field. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The Nexer's reality warping bubble continued to grow, threatening to engulf the Prometheus. But then, almost imperceptibly, their perfect formation began to show signs of strain. Their quantum resonance is destabilizing, Rivera reported. The fluctuations are cascading through their network. Like a crack spreading through ice, the imperfections in the Nexer's unified field began to multiply. Their attempt to rewrite physics was being undone by the very principles they sought to control: chaos theory, butterfly effects, and the fundamental uncertainty that humans had learned to embrace rather than deny. "They're trying to compensate," Zhang announced, receiving multiple emergency transmissions between their ships. Their command structure is breaking down. The Nexer fleet's perfect geometric pattern began to disintegrate as individual ships struggled to maintain their positions. Their unified field collapsed in a spectacular display of quantum feedback, sending ripples of distorted space-time washing over their own vessels. "Now," Chen ordered, "full attack pattern Omega. Target their command and control nodes." The Prometheus moved like water through the disrupted formation, its S-Nuorum drones deploying in patterns inspired by natural phenomena: murmurations of starlings, the spread of lightning, the growth of crystal fractals. Each drone carried a quantum seed of chaos, exploiting the growing instability in the Nexer systems. "Their ships are losing cohesion," Paddle reported with a note of awe. "The crystalline structures are adopting random configurations. They can't maintain their technological uniformity." Through the quantum static filling space, a new transmission cut through. "This defies all known laws of warfare. Your species cannot possess this level of understanding." Chen's response was to push the attack harder. The Prometheus phased through the disrupted enemy formation, its quantum echoes multiplying the confusion. Each pass seeded more chaos into the Nexer's perfectly ordered systems, creating a cascade of failures that spread from ship to ship. "Their flagship is attempting an emergency reconfiguration," Rivera warned. "They're trying to isolate their systems from the cascade effect." "Too late," Chen murmured. "They're learning the hard way that sometimes the most powerful force isn't order, it's controlled chaos." The Nexer flagship's crystalline hull began to pulse with unstable energy as its attempts to restore order only amplify the chaos. Throughout their fleet, ships began to power down, their perfect systems overwhelmed by the complexity they had never been designed to handle. As the battle reached its crescendo, Chen reflected on the irony. The Nexer had come expecting to find primitives, only to encounter a species that had turned their greatest weakness, their apparent technological inferiority, into their greatest strength. Because humans had never achieved the Nexer's level of technological perfection, they had learned to work with imperfection, to harness chaos rather than trying to eliminate it. "Enemy fleet is reducing power across all systems," Jackson reported. "They're surrendering, Captain." Chen nodded slowly. "Accept their surrender, but maintain our defensive posture. And prepare a message for their command structure. It's time they learned that true advancement isn't about achieving perfection. It's about learning to thrive in an imperfect universe." The stars seemed to shine brighter as the quantum distortions faded, and in that moment, humanity had changed the galaxy's understanding of what it meant to be an advanced civilization. The human element. In the quiet moments following the surrender, the bridge of the Prometheus hummed with subdued energy. Captain Chen watched her crew, noting the subtle signs of exhaustion they tried to hide. Lieutenant Rivera's hands trembled slightly as he monitored the sensor readings. Commander Jackson's normally perfect posture had softened, his shoulders bearing the weight of the past hours. "Damage report," Chen requested, her own voice carrying the roughness of too many tense commands. "Hull integrity at 87%, Paddle responded, suppressing a yawn. "Quantum matrix stable but strained. We'll need to recalibrate the dots before any more phase shifting." The Nexer fleet hung motionless against the starfield, their once gleaming crystalline ships now dulled by the chaos they had endured. Emergency repairs created occasional flashes of light across their hulls, like distant lightning in a dark sky. "Message from their flagship," Zhang announced, her dark eyes reflecting the glow of her console. "They're requesting a face-to-face meeting." Chen exchanged glances with Jackson. After everything that had happened, after the devastating effectiveness of the Butterfly Protocol, the Nexar wanted to meet in person. It could be a trap, but it could also be something else entirely, recognition. "Their command structure must be in disarray," Jackson observed quietly. "This goes against everything in their tactical database about their behavior." Chen nodded, understanding the implications. The Nexar coalition, with their perfect order and rigid hierarchies, had been forced to adapt. Perhaps they were learning faster than anyone had expected. "Lieutenant Rivera," she called, "what's the status of their weapon systems?" Rivera's fingers danced across his neural interface, pulling up detailed scans. "Powered down but functional. Their crystalline matrices are still showing signs of instability from our attack. They couldn't mount an effective offense without at least 6 hours of recalibration." Chen made her decision. "Commander Jackson, you have the bridge. Lieutenant Commander Patel, you're with me. Have Dr. Santos meet us in the shuttle bay. We might need her expertise in xenobiology." As Chen stood from her command chair, she felt every hour of the battle in her bones. The neural interface had kept her connected to her ship and crew throughout the engagement, and the psychological toll was as real as the physical exhaustion. The walk to the shuttle bay gave her time to reflect. The Prometheus had achieved something unprecedented, not just victory over a superior force, but perhaps something more valuable, the opportunity for understanding. Dr. Elena Santos was waiting by the shuttle, her medical kit already prepared. The xenobiologist's eyes sparkled with barely contained excitement, despite the dark circles beneath them. "Captain," she greeted, "I've been analyzing the biological data we gathered during the battle. The Nexar physiology is fascinating. Their cellular structure almost mirrors their ship design." "Meaning?" Chen asked as they boarded the shuttle. "They're living crystals, essentially," Santos explained. "Their entire civilization is built on patterns of perfect order, from their biology to their technology. What we did with the Butterfly Protocol, we didn't just defeat their ships, we challenged their entire worldview." The shuttle departed the Prometheus, cutting through the void toward the Nexar flagship. Through the viewport, Chen could see the damage they had inflicted, not just physical destruction, but fundamental changes in the crystalline structures that made up the alien vessel. "They're scared," Paddle said suddenly, her voice soft but certain. "Not of our weapons or technology, but of what we represent. We're chaos they can't predict or control." Chen understood. The Nexar had built their empire on the principle of perfect order, expanding through space and imposing their structure on every civilization they encountered. Then they had met humanity, a species that had learned to thrive in chaos, to turn uncertainty into advantage. The shuttle docked with the Nexar flagship, the airlocks engaging with a soft hiss. The receiving chamber was a marvel of crystalline architecture, every surface reflecting and refracting light in complex patterns. And there, waiting for them, stood the Nexar leadership. They were beautiful in an alien way, their crystalline bodies catching and splitting light like living prisms. But Chen could see the imperfections now. Tiny fractures and asymmetries caused by the Butterfly Protocol, changes that went deeper than mere physical damage. "We have studied your species since the battle." The lead Nexar spoke, its voice resonating through the crystal chamber. "You are disordered, unpredictable. Your technology should not function. Your strategies defy analysis. Your very existence challenges everything we believe about civilization." Chen stepped forward, her posture straight despite her exhaustion. "Perhaps that's exactly what you needed to encounter. A reminder that the universe isn't meant to be perfectly ordered. Life, real life, thrives on adaptation, on finding strength in imperfection." The Nexar leader's crystalline form shifted, refracting light in new patterns. "We have dominated space for 10,000 years, bringing order to chaos. Yet in one battle, you have shown us that our understanding may be incomplete." "Not incomplete," Chen corrected gently. just too rigid. There's strength in order, yes, but there's also strength in flexibility, in embracing change rather than resisting it. As they began their negotiations, Chen couldn't help but feel that this was humanity's real victory, not the defeat of the Nexer fleet, but the chance to show an ancient civilization that there was more than one path to advancement, more than one way to reach the stars. The future would be neither perfect order nor complete chaos, but something new, a harmony born from the meeting of two vastly different approaches to existence. And perhaps that was the greatest achievement of all. Dawn of recognition. 2 weeks after the battle, the Prometheus escorted the remaining Nexer vessels to the edge of the solar system. The once mighty fleet had been transformed, not just by the physical damage of combat, but by something far more profound. Their perfect crystalline formations now contained deliberate imperfections, adaptations born from their encounter with humanity. Captain Chen stood on the Prometheus's observation deck, watching the space between worlds with Lieutenant Commander Patil and Dr. Santos. The Nexer flagship gleamed differently now, its surface a testament to the changes ringing through their civilization. Their ships are healing, Santos observed, gesturing to the subtle patterns flowing across the alien vessels. But they're not returning to their original configuration. They're evolving. Patil nodded, her tactical expertise lending weight to her analysis. Their shield harmonics have shifted too. They're incorporating randomness into their defensive patterns, learning from us, even now. The past 2 weeks had been intense. After the initial meeting aboard the Nexer flagship, both sides had engaged in a careful dance of diplomacy and cultural exchange. The Nexer, their rigid worldview shaken by their defeat, had shown an unexpected capacity for adaptation. Captain to the bridge. Zhang's voice came through the comm system. The Nexer High Command is preparing their final transmission. When Chen reached the bridge, the holographic display showed the Nexer leader, its crystalline form now bearing proud asymmetries that would have been unthinkable weeks ago. Captain Chen, it began, we have transmitted our full report to the Coalition Council. Your species has taught us something we had forgotten in 10,000 years of expansion. The value of imperfection. Chen smiled slightly. And your people have reminded us that there's value in order as well. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson here, that true strength comes from balance. Indeed. The Nexer leader's form shifted, creating patterns that the Prometheus's crew had learned to recognize as thoughtful consideration. The Council has reached a unanimous decision. Earth and the human species will not be classified for integration into the Coalition. Instead, we propose a new designation. Allies. The bridge crew exchanged glances. This was unprecedented in Nexer history. They had never considered any species their equal, let alone allies. There are forces stirring in the galaxy, the Nexer leader continued. Ancient powers that make our coalition seem young. We believed order alone would protect us. Now we understand that survival may require adaptation. Commander Jackson leaned forward at his station. You're talking about threats beyond the known regions of space. Correct. Our perfect order made us strong, but it also made us predictable. Your species has shown us that there is strength in chaos, in the ability to think beyond established patterns. We will need this wisdom in the times to come. Chen considered the implications. Humanity had not just defended Earth, they had potentially changed the course of galactic history. What exactly are you proposing? An exchange, the Nexer leader answered. We offer access to our technology, our star maps, our knowledge gathered over millennia. In return, we seek to learn your ways of adaptation, your ability to find strength in imperfection. Together, we may forge something new, a synthesis of order and chaos. The proposal was formally accepted within hours. As the Nexer fleet prepared to depart, they left behind more than just agreements and promises. They left a changed understanding of civilization itself. On the Prometheus's bridge, Chen watched the alien ships begin their journey home. Send a message to Earth Command, she ordered Zhang. Tell them that the stars have changed. Rivera looked up from his sensor station. Changed, Captain. Yes, she smiled. They're not just points of light anymore, marking the darkness between worlds. They're doorways waiting to be opened. And humanity has proven we're ready to step through. The Prometheus maintained its position as the Nexer ships engaged their drives, their crystalline hulls blazing with new patterns of power. They had come as conquerors and were leaving as allies, transformed by their encounter with a species that had turned apparent weakness into unimaginable strength. Orders, Captain, Jackson asked as the last alien ship disappeared into the depths of space. Chen took her command chair, feeling the familiar neural connection with her ship. The Prometheus hummed around her, its systems incorporating the lessons learned from the battle, growing stronger through adaptation, just like its crew, just like humanity itself. Set course for Earth, she commanded. We have a lot of work ahead of us. The galaxy's a bigger place than we imagined, and it's time we prepared for our role in it. As the Prometheus turned toward home, its quantum drives pulsing with power, Chen reflected on how much had changed in so short a time. Humanity had faced its first true test among the stars and had done more than just survive. They had shown the galaxy a new way forward, a path between perfect order and total chaos. The stars stretched out before them, no longer distant and unreachable, but full of possibility. Humanity had made its mark on the cosmic stage, not through overwhelming force or advanced technology, but through their most fundamental quality: the ability to adapt, to learn, to find strength in the very uncertainty that others feared. The future was no longer a crystalline structure of predetermined paths. It was something far more beautiful, a dance of order and chaos, of pattern and possibility, of countless civilizations learning from each other's strengths. And humanity, with its unique perspective and indomitable spirit, would help lead the way. The Prometheus sailed through the void, carrying not just its crew, but the hopes of two civilizations and the promise of a new era. The battle was over, but the real adventure was just beginning.